On today's show, one of the trade candidates for the Washington Wizards to deal at the trade deadline is Marvin Bagley III. However, should we imagine a long-term future with Bagley around for the next couple years? I think we should.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
DC family, you are locked on to the Washington Wizards, where you're part of our family. We thank you for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every single day. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team, free and available every single day. Alongside the DC sports content creating Strober and Abdullah Ayubi, I'm Ben Strober, and I cover the Washington Wizards for Roundtable IO. AB, you were up late last night, man. I appreciate you taking one for the team, because I know a lot of you out there didn't stay up for the game, but you did, AB. You had Wizards Muse on as well, so shout out to Ethan for joining the pod. You guys held down the fort well last night. I hope you got some sleep.
Yeah, no, I definitely did after the stream. We appreciate anyone that was actually watching, or shout out to you just for watching the whole game and then listening to two dummies talk about the game. Ethan, very cool guy. Make sure to check out his stuff on Twitter.
All right, on today's show, we talk about Marvin Bagley. We know he's a name that gets thrown around as a potential candidate to head out the door here at the trade deadline for Washington. But I'm starting to wonder if we should imagine what it would look like to have him back, at least for next year. And I'll go through the possibilities we roll through the episode. I want to talk about Bilal Coulibaly, because he suffered, I believe, his fifth unique injury of the season last night. And then in the third segment, I just want to talk a little bit about Bub Carrington, who's been a little bit cold shooting the basketball lately, but he's impacting the game in other ways. So I feel like we got to give him some credit there and bring that to the forefront. So about Bagley, the Wizards obviously traded for him initially, traded him last year, signed him again in free agency, and now he seems like a candidate that might get traded again. And he has been more than serviceable, in my opinion, in what he's done for the Wizards in around 19 minutes per game this season, 19.4 to be exact, 10 points, 5.6 rebounds, very active on the offensive glass. And something about Bagley that stands out to me in this situation is just he continues to be one of those kind of players for Washington that just helps them contribute to winning basketball in a multitude of different ways. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Justin Champagnie, because although sometimes he doesn't see the floor a whole lot, he's super impactful in the moments where he is out there giving you what he can. So a fun fact here, and this shout out to District Analytics, who messaged me on Reddit, and I actually put out a Reddit poll, and I'll go through the results later. He said, on Basketball References data, Marvin Bagley leads the Wizards in win shares this season at 1.9. Win shares being an estimate of the number of wins contributed by a player. Last year, Justin Champagnie led the team in win shares at 2.8, which might be a reason why for his lack of minutes this year. This is mainly to say some of the data shows that Bagley is a pretty important factor in winning games for this team. Now, there's definitely some value in Bagley, because he's a more than serviceable backup center, and a lot of teams could use that. But I make the argument that the Wizards could absolutely use that for their squad next year, depending on the way things go in this draft and free agency. I'd like to see him back on this team. And I know obviously you could trade him and get what you get for him, and then you could go sign him again in free agency, because he's on an expiring contract right now. But maybe if you're the Wizards, you can just say to Bagley, hey, we really value having you around, so we're not going to trade you at the deadline here, and we're going to sign you in the offseason. I don't know. I want to get your thoughts on it, though, AB.
Yeah, he's averaging 10.6 rebounds this season. The numbers have been up compared to last season. And the way I see it, I could say there's two benefits to trading him. Obviously, you get some draft capital in return, but also, Ben, the tank mode. Full on. Now that you don't have Marvin Bagley, you'll have a lot of Tristan Vucevic second half of the season, and you're keeping that draft pick and hopefully landing a top 4 pick. But I see the argument. Marvin Bagley, a veteran and not that old, 27 years old, 26 years old, can be a mentor for
26, I think,
26.
yeah.
Wow, can be a mentor for guys like Alex Sarr or potential Caleb Wilson or DeBonza when they come in, being able to play the big man position. Marvin Bagley was a high draft pick, and obviously it didn't pan out, but he's still serviceable. Not many people in the NBA can do that, where there's high expectations and they can still play for as long as he has. And I think it's a tough call, but I think if the draft capital is there, Ben, at a good price, I think you pull the trigger because Will Dawkins loves his draft capital, and it's gonna be funny because you trade away Bagley, bring him back, and now you do it again. It's just he's going the Wizards organization is going doing circles around the poor guy, but we'll just see. The NBA is a business at the end of the day, and if I had a bet on it, Ben, I don't think I think he's going to be here post trade deadline, but I wouldn't be surprised if he gets traded.
Now, I just wonder what the real value is for him. I wonder what executives would be willing to give up. If you're just getting a second round pick for Bagley, I don't even know if I think it's worth it at that point. I think maybe you send a message here to Bagley that you value him and what he brings to the table. It seems like to me that he's been pretty content with what his role here is in DC. And obviously for a guy that was drafted in the top 3, his career didn't go the way a lot of people expected. He was a superstar loading when he came out of college. But he's a much better player than a lot of people give him credit for. And he's just turned into one of those hard-nosed, gritty, get-on-the-floor basketball players for this team. And I think he kind of embodies what this Wizards team wants to do. In the future, you want to have a guy like that attacks the offensive glass with purpose, that can give you a little bit defensively. He's not the best defender, but for a guy that you'd have coming off the bench playing anywhere from 18 to 20 minutes per game, hopefully if you have another big part of the equation next year as well, whether it's a guy you get in the draft like Boozer or Caleb Wilson, or you go address it in free agency, I still feel like Bagley could have a really solid role on this team. And I haven't had many moments this year where I've watched Marvin Bagley and said, I'm not seeing it with this guy. In fact, I have a lot of nights where I go, I am really seeing it with this guy. And he was awesome last night. Obviously, Sarr gets ejected for the first time in his career 13 minutes into the game. Bagley shoots 70% from the field, look really good rebounding the basketball as well. I think he's a valuable asset to have to a team that is looking to take the next step next year and win more games. I think he really can help you win games because of how well he can play off the bench.
Let's say he can net you a future first-round pick, Ben. Are you pulling the trigger?
If he's so here's the thing. If somebody offers a first for him, I think I'm taking the deal, and then I'm trying to sign him again in free agency because that would be pretty crazy. I'd have to pull up the details for the trade that he was involved in last year. Hold on a second.
At that point, you're playing 2K My League, Ben.
I know it's kind of wild, but I don't know. Maybe you just throw the guy a bone and say that you value him and that you want to keep him here. But if a first-round pick is insane value for Marvin Bagley, I don't think that's likely. I don't think that would be the type of return you get for a player like that, even though he does have value as a backup center that can definitely play meaningful minutes for a playoff caliber team. But it is interesting to think about, and I do want him on this team at least next year.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be a tough call because now that McCollum's gone and you should potentially move on from Bagley. Middleton, well, actually, I don't know if you saw, Ben, but now that McCollum's gone, the team is the youngest in the NBA, the Wizards. And if you trade Bagley away, it's just Middleton and a bunch of kids, if you're being real. And Chris Middleton yesterday had a good performance as well, Ben. So
he did.
With the vets like Bagley and Middleton, I think you brought up good points. They bring value when it comes to on the court and also being a mentor off the court for our young guys. But I think we've seen from Will Dawkins' track record, if he gets the right price, I think he'll ship him. And I like the idea of bringing him back because it would be funny. But yeah, Marvin Bagley's game, you can't complain about it. He goes out there and gives it his all.
And just looking across the NBA at players that play around his range of minutes per game, I was trying to do a little bit of digging here to see what you could find. So he's playing 19 minutes per game, and I'm just looking through the NBA.com stat data right now to try to gauge where he ranks statistically amongst his peers that play around that amount of minutes per night. And he kind of stands out, in my opinion. Like he's putting up similar numbers right now to Daniel Gafford, Andre Drummond, Kyle Filipowski for Utah, Steven Adams he's looked similar to this year, who's a backup for Houston this year. So it's interesting to think about how Bagley has kind of emerged as maybe one of the better reserve big mans in the league this year. And I think there's real value in bringing him back and having him be part of this culture. I think if you want to establish a culture that wins, you need to retain your core guys that pertain to winning basketball, like Justin Champagnie, like Marvin Bagley this year. I think you need to keep those guys around because even though they're not considered like your young core guys, they're still relatively young, and they actually can show some leadership compared to some of the young players you have. Champagnie and Bagley, I think, have been excellent leaders by example for this team.
Yeah, you know how I feel about JC. I don't need to talk much about him, but
Your tweet killed me, bro. Your tweet was so funny.
About the jersey, the Matt tweet.
Yeah, Matt Moderno from Believe in Wizards was like, I've seen capital J journalists stealing equipment from the facility. And you posted what was the GIF again?
It was a guy running away with like 2 cases, and it was like me stealing all the Justin Champagnie jerseys from the Wizards facility. But yeah, I think they have a good group of vets here, Ben. There's not really much you can't say enough nice things about Middleton, what he's done in a short period of time. JC, his development from the Capital City Go-Go to now Marvin Bagley coming to Washington, getting shipped and coming back. It would hurt. I know a lot of Wizards fans are attached to the vets, but man, I think if you look at the long-term plan, it's going to work out because, again, if you acquire any form of draft capital, we know Will Dawkins loves to cook with second-round picks.
Yeah, you're right about that. So the poll I put out on Reddit, I'll give you the results real quick before we get to the break. It seems like the majority of people, I've had 19 responses so far in under an hour, so it's a pretty good amount, actually. It seems like most people say they're open to it, but they're not hard-pressed to see it happen. I think there's a couple people that are saying absolutely bring him back. So I think the majority of Wizards fans are pretty open to the idea of him being back on this team, whether it's after they trade him again or if they just keep him through the rest of the season and sign him to a new contract. I think you could get him relatively cheap once again. He's on like a minimum contract right now, so maybe you could give him a slight pay raise, still be pretty low in terms of the cap, and go from there. I think he could help you out. All right, when we come back, Bilal was injured again last night. Let's talk about it.
I carry a lot of responsibility in my household. If something happened to me, there would be serious consequences. We have a mortgage. We got tuition. We got everyday bills. Those aren't going anywhere if something happens to me. And I know that's an overwhelming feeling, but I'm taking steps to protect my family by getting life insurance through Ethos. Ethos makes getting life insurance fast, easy, and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. There's no medical exam. You just answer a few simple health questions. You can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies are as low as $30 a month. And as of March 2025, Business Insider named Ethos the #1 no medical exam instant life insurance provider. Ethos has 4.8 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot with over 3,000 reviews. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos now by going to ethos.com/LocdownNBA. In as little as 10 minutes, you can get your free quote and up to $3 million in coverage at ethos.com/LocdownNBA. That's ethos.com/LocdownNBA. Ethos.com/LocdownNBA. Application times and rates may vary.
Oh, I think you're muted, Ben.
It's dumb StreamYard. All right.
You're good.
Bilal last night leaves with lower back tightness, and now this becomes, I believe, the 5th unique injury he's had this year. He obviously missed the start of the season with surgery on his thumb, which he sustained in the Eurobasket. He had the oblique issue. He had the calf issue. And what am I missing? The ankle sprain, right?
It's a long CVS receipt, Ben, and it's hard because I want to see this kid succeed, and I say he's the most. I always go back to the fact that he's the most polarizing young player on the squad because when he's on offensively, when he's very aggressive, can get you 10 to 15 points a game, and defensively you can rack up 3 to 4 steals a game from him in a couple of blocks. But the injuries, Ben, and vital year, contract extension coming up. You're the first draft pick of the Will Dawkins regime. It just gets to a point. Is it too early to call him injury prone, Ben? Like, what do you call that? It's different types of injuries. It's not the same injury, and it's concerning and it's frustrating for us Wizards fans.
So the thing that Keefe and Will Dawkins have cited multiple times with Bilal Coulibaly is that they believe a lot of his injuries have kind of been freak accidents. And, like, there's some truth to that from some of the previous injuries. He had, like, the wrist thing that he sustained at the end of the year, took a hard fall, had to get surgery on that. So there is truth to that, but this is a little bit different because this is the reporting that was done here by Josh Robbins. He tweeted out last night that Bilal after the game said, "I felt like it was tight for a little bit a couple days ago. Yeah, a bad step just made it worse." And then Koulibaly later said, "It's tight, but I'll be good. It's just tightness, nothing crazy." Injuries are a little bit dicey when it comes to this Wizards team because obviously these teams don't have to really tell you much. I'm going to check the availability report, see if there's anything out for tomorrow's game. I highly doubt it because they're playing at night tomorrow, so it just kind of seems unlikely that would put something out. But yeah, it's very interesting. It's a very curious case, honestly, with Bilal and what the deal is in terms of his health going forward because he's really struggled to get in a rhythm. And it felt like the last couple of weeks since he came back from the ankle injury, we were starting to see him actually play with some consistency. And, he was a little bit up and down on certain nights. He had a couple of really nice performances. He scored 18 against Philadelphia, 14 against Orlando. Did his thing defensively, especially in that Orlando game where he had the career-high 5 steals. And you see what type of player he can be for this team. I thought he was shooting a little bit better from the three-point line. He went through a 4-game run where he was over 30% every single night. He was 40% on January 7th, 50% from 3 on January 9th, and then he was 40% on January 11th. So it seemed like maybe he was getting in rhythm a little bit with that catch-and-shoot jumper. But it's just tough to really understand a true guy's potential when he's having a hard time like this staying on the floor, AB.
It's hard for any player, a superstar player, to get in rhythm if they're on the court 2 games and off the court for 4 games. And for Bilal, I really hope this isn't a problem for the rest of his career because the talent is there. And again, he is a vital piece for this Wizards team moving forward. Defensively, he could be your best player. Keyshawn George, great wing as well defensively, but maybe Bilal's ceiling isn't a superstar, which is fine. Maybe not even an all-star. But if he's a guy that can come off the bench and give you valuable minutes defensively, your Lou Dort, so to speak, then so be it. And everyone needs to understand today's NBA, not everyone's going to be an all-star. There is specific roles for specific people. And 6th, 7th overall pick, the draft, the capital, because you traded up to get him. Whatever, you can make the argument, but I still think Bilal could be a vital piece for this franchise when they start contending.
I think they need his defense. That's evident to me, what he provides on the wing, and considering, you're buying some stock here into Trae Young to be your point guard, at least probably for next season, maybe longer than that. We'll see. But he's a negative player defensively. We're not going to beat around the bush with that. He's not going to give you a ton on the end. CJ McCollum didn't give you much either way defensively, so I don't really know if you're getting that much worse on defense with Trae Young. But, I get it. I understand the concerns. He's not a very good defender. But you need guys that can supplement for you and play some solid defense on the wing. And whether that's Trey Johnson getting better defensively at the 2-guard position, I don't think Trey Johnson has the potential to be a star-level defender, even a great defender. I think he can be serviceable, and that's what the Wizards need. Bilal, though, has elite-level defensive potential, and we've seen the flashes of that on any given night. Keyshawn, if he can stay out of foul trouble, has really great defensive potential. He's aggressive. He uses his length to his advantage. So if you're going to have Trae Young on the floor, you're going to need your guys on the wings like that to fill in and provide that defensive prowess that you need. So you're going to have to see minutes where Bilal is out there on those nights. But it's going to be really interesting this offseason and come October to see how Washington handles his contract extension talks. Because he becomes eligible, that doesn't mean the Wizards have to do anything at that point. But could this be a situation where you sign him to a pretty cheap deal at this point, and maybe he breaks out after that? That's kind of what happened here with Denny. I think they're very different. I think Denny always had a lot more offensive potential than Bilal did. But Bilal has the athleticism. He has tools that could make him a pretty good offensive player. But the injuries have been the biggest thing that's gotten in his way, in my opinion, AB.
Yeah, I honestly don't know his value, Ben. It's hard per year, and you have the financial flexibility, and you bring up Denny. It's funny because I always mention how they literally have opposites. Like Denny's defense was a concern, and offensively we saw the potential of Bilal. Defensively, we know he is a beast, but offensively we still need to see a lot more. So we'll just have to see how that pans out. I wanted to get your quick reaction though, Ben, last night to Alex Sarr's ejection. I don't know if you saw it. To me, it was dumb, and he still finished with 2 blocks, which was funny. But Ethan and I were talking about it. We thought it was just baloney.
So Keith was really pissed off about the first call. So he got teed up for arguing a non-call. so I understand the frustration there. The second time, like where he bounced the ball, they give you a tech for that every single time. So like I get it. The NBA rules are if you get 2 techs, you get ejected from the game. But from what it sounds like, the first tech that he was given was relatively soft. So I guess you could make the argument there. And it wasn't like an egregious bounce. He didn't take the ball 2 hands, slam it down, swearing all over the place. It was just a little bit of frustration got the better of him. And you know what? I honestly, I like to see it. I like to see
Yeah, I
Sar
like it
fired
too.
up. I like fire in the guy because the only thing that ever holds back Sar from being a really great player is like the motor and the fire for the guy. The fact that he has that in him to be like a dominant beast and get angry if he feels like something is getting in the way of him having a great night. I like to see that. I'm not mad about that whatsoever. And obviously, you're not trying to win. So it works out. It kind of works out. I like to see the intensity from Alex Sar. So I can't wait to see the response. I hope he comes out with his hair on fire against Sacramento. Hopefully not enough to win though, because that's a pretty important game for them to lose.
Yeah,
that'll get them to second, I think, in the tank standings. They're third right now, so I think losing to Sacramento would be pretty big for them.
Yeah, I definitely want to preview that. But yeah, the French Connection last night in LA, it just wasn't that strong due to injuries and ejection. But keep on moving forward.
When are you gonna watch the movie?
I don't know. I guess I have to tomorrow's Friday, so hopefully I will. I don't even know what it's about, but I heard it's an iconic movie, and I'm assuming it's about French people.
Uptown Dre said it was like a real good 60s, 70s vibe or something like that. So I don't know. Maybe
Bro, I don't think I've ever watched the movies. It was made in the 60s, 70s, or the vibe was the...
I don't know. I don't know a single... I don't watch a lot of movies, and I think a lot of people think I'm insane for not seeing so many classic movies. You've probably seen way more than me, Abdullah, but I'll check that one out just because of Sar and Koulibaly. I'll actually watch it. All right, when we come back, we'll preview Wizards and Kings, and I also want to talk a little bit about Bub Carrington and what he's done the past few nights. The new year is here, and it's the perfect time to reset your routine and refresh your space. If you're spending more time at home, you might as well love how it looks and feels. That's why you should turn to Wayfair. It's a one-stop shop for getting your home back on track. From bedding and mattresses to storage solutions for every room, Wayfair makes it easy to start the year fresh. Wayfair is everything you need for a full home refresh all in one place. Whether you're updating your living room, organizing your space, or upgrading from your work from home setup, Wayfair's huge selection makes it easy to find exactly what works for your style and budget. I picked up new bedding, accent pillows from Wayfair, and it completely changed how my bedroom feels. It's cleaner, calmer, and more put together. I love that I could find pieces that match my style without spending a fortune. Shopping is easy, delivery is smooth, and everything arrived exactly as I expected. Get organized, refreshed, and back on track this new year for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now and shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. All right, how about back-to-back performances for Bub Carrington where he has 7 assists and just 1 turnover? It's impressive to me the way he's kind of picked it up from that realm because turnovers were a problem for him earlier throughout the season. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it because last night was a terrible shooting night for Bub Carrington. This is an objectively hilarious stat line because he was 1 of 11 from the field. He went 0 for 6 from 3 with a 16.8 true shooting percentage. But he gave you 5 rebounds on the glass and then 7 assists compared to just 1 turnover. He was a +1 in the game, despite going 1 of 11 from the field in 33 minutes. It's one of the most hilarious stat lines I've seen for a player. But, shooting aside, I'm not really worried about that right now. I think he's kind of just in a bit of a shooting slump. If you just look at the recent game log for him, he's cooled off a little bit from 3 after he was making like 60% over a 10-game stretch or so. Let's see. So, yeah, like over the past 8 games or so, 1 for 5, 1 for 6, 0 for 4. 5 for 10 was awesome on January 7th. 3 for 8, pretty good. And then 1 for 3, then 0 for 6. So the three-point shot has cooled off a little bit. He's developing a bit as a playmaker. And I wonder if when Trae Young is back on the floor after the All-Star break, whatever that may be, how much more Bub can learn playing behind him because he's getting better at reading the defense and reacting in real time and avoiding turning the basketball over. And that's a huge thing for him going forward. The last time where we really saw a big, bad turnover performance for him was on January 7th when he had 6. He was just bad in that game. It was a minus 28 overall. But he's getting better at limiting it, AB, and I'm encouraged by it.
Yeah, I think these past couple of games, 7 assists, 7 assists, 4 assists, 7 assists. The playmaking is there when he's not able to score a lot, which is not that big of a deal. We're not asking him to score 20 points a game. The playmaking is there, rebounding as well. Big guard, you love to see it. And I do wonder how much of Trae Young will impact Bub's game. And it's just funny because the three-point shooting was the only strength starting off the year when everyone was just very down on him, and rightfully so. It wasn't really good basketball from him, but we knew that he was eventually going to turn the corner. And last night as a whole, Ben, I was surprised the Wizards only had 11 turnovers, and I thought that once McCollum was gone, being dealt to Atlanta, that turnovers was going to be a problem moving forward because McCollum is a vet that can handle the ball. But I think Bub is a main facilitator on this team now that CJ is gone and not taking those shots. And Trae Young, I don't think we talked about it, Ben, but it is reported and confirmed that he won't be back until post All-Star break, which rightfully so. And also, I want to talk about the fact, Ben, that some Knicks fans are actually still upset about us tanking. Like come on, what are we doing here? But we can talk about that a little later. But going back to Bub, the playmaking, Ben, I love it, and it's year 2. He's only going to learn from here, and I think with a healthy Trae Young and hopefully a top 4 pick coming out, like the game will just evolve when he plays around good guys around him.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. And with Bub, it's curious to me in where we see his potential going forward. But he gives you a lot in different ways. Like, he is a willing basketball player. He's competitive. And I like the way he chips in on the glass. I don't think he gets enough credit for being a very capable rebounder. And I know he's a little bit bigger at like 6'5.5", I believe Bub Carrington is. He gets in on the glass, and he's active. I like the way he positions himself. I think he's pretty active, trying to get his hands involved. And the rebounding numbers will show for in a way. So love to see that for Bub Carrington. I'm sure he'll find his shot again at some point pretty soon. All right, moving forward, let's talk about this Wizards-Kings matchup tomorrow night at 10 p.m. We'll be up late for that one. So I was wrong, actually. The Kings are behind the Wizards in the tank standings. They're 4th right now at 11-30. The Wizards are tied with New Orleans, both with 10 wins, but the Wizards are 2 games back because New Orleans has played more games. They already have 33 losses this year. Thank God the Pacers randomly decided to win 3 games in a row. So now we're actually gaining some ground and maybe get back to that bottom spot. But it's going to be very interesting to see this Wizards and Kings team face off because these are 2 bad teams. And I remember watching that Wizards-Pelicans game last week. I tweeted out at some point in the third quarter, I said, this is just about what you'd expect. These are 2 bad basketball teams playing right now, and I kind of expect more of that tomorrow night, AB.
I've seen a lot of Kings fans saying that they want to tank too. Like, they just don't want to win and get a high draft
They
pick.
need to.
They need to, yeah, because they're going to come into a situation where they were like the Wizards a couple years ago, where you don't have any future. I mean, you're relying on Russell Westbrook, Zach LaVine. I don't know any of the young studs on that roster right now, at least like any off the top of my head. But it's a crucial game, crucial tank game, 10 p.m. It's going to be late, another late night game. And you want to see how Alex Sarr bounces back. I don't think it affects your ability to play next game when you get ejected, right, Ben, due to the second tech, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't think he gets suspended for that. It should be good.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, this is just such a roster full of unks that just don't really have it anymore. Like, Westbrook is still a good player. Like, these guys are still good. I just don't think he can really like win with these guys. DeMar DeRozan, he's just well past what he was in his career at one point.
It's purgatory, Ben. It's literally what the
Yeah.
Wizards were. It's like there's no sense of direction. You're not tanking to get a good draft pick, but you're trying to compete with teams in the Western Conference. Be for real.
I'm curious if they're going to move Sabonis or not. I know we talked about that at one point and like what the fit would look like if they moved him here. But I feel like if you're Sacramento, you got to sell the farm at this deadline, don't you? Like, if you want to tank and take a real direction, that's the first step, is to get rid of your best players. And Sabonis, a guy averaging 17 and 12, I would get him somewhere else, see what you can get for him. And he's on a pretty expensive contract, so I'm not sure how that would play into the draft capital that would come in return for that for Sacramento, but I think they absolutely need to move whatever they can at this deadline.
I remember, Ben, I think it was sophomore year of college or maybe freshman year when the Wizards were interested in Sabonis, but he ended up going to Sacramento. I was so hurt because I was like, that would have been a perfect fit with Brad at the time.
It's funny how things shift like that, isn't it? It's just, the NBA is crazy. The NBA is such a bizarre league. At the same time, I love it. It is really weird to cover, though, because there are so many moving parts at so many different times. It's crazy, AB. I mean, it's like you and I's first year officially covering the league, and wow, there's just so many things that were going on that I didn't even know about, to be honest, because unless you're really keeping tabs on a lot of these things, you will lose track of it really quick. So that's just something I noticed. What did you think about that?
Yeah, no, I think it's we're not halfway there yet. We're almost there because I think All-Star
halfway
break
after Saturday.
Yeah, halfway after. Wow, time really flies. In the NBA, it's like a day-to-day league. It's way different from the NFL when it's week to week. But you just, especially a team for the Wizards that you understand you're not winning a lot, but there's draft talks coming up, and then getting a guy like Trae Young, that's box office. A lot of things that you should be excited about moving forward, and I just can't wait. I think next year, Ben, it's going to be a lot different covering this team, hopefully.
I think so. I do think so. Want to get your thoughts on today's episode. Let us know below what you think about Marvin Bagley and his future in D.C., Bilal Coulibaly, his inability to stay on the floor, and then the recent surge of Bub Carrington as a passer. Want to get your thoughts. Let us know how we're doing as well. We thank you for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every single day. For my co-host, Abdullah Ayubi, I'm Ben Strober. We'll talk to you later, DC family.